The clip you are about to watch is from Talking in the Library, live every Wednesday evening. Do subscribe so you can watch live.
For hours.
This is the brass dragon that you have decided to create based on the lore from all editions slapped together. So why don't you go ahead and just let us know a little bit about it?
If you wanted to argue that brass dragons are the best dragons, you're going to have a really hard time. Because they're However, what I thought about doing was improving the brass dragon, at least to the 5e one, because the 5e one is what I'm talking about when I say brass dragons are. And I slapped on a few extra things on it. So we all know. Why should we? Maybe we don't all know. Let me give you a bit of brass dragon lore. Brass dragons, all they do is talk. They talk and talk and talk, and if you try to avoid conversation with a brass dragon, they put you to sleep with some sleep breath, and you'll wake up buried up to your neck in sand, unable to move, and you'll have to sit through a one-sided 8-hour conversation at the minimum as they talk about World of Warcraft lore or some other pointless that you don't care about, but if it looks like you don't care about what they're saying, you're in trouble. Right? You got to feign interest for 8 hours. That's where the players are going to have to roll wisdom saving throws for every hour that passes, or they gain 1 level of exhaustion. So by 6 hours in, they're dead.
Oh, okay. So brass dragons have an X account. Gotcha.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Brass dragons are absolutely prepared to hit you up with 8 hours of MLP lore.
Yeah.
Oh God!
Anything you can think of, the worst thing you can think of, in fact. And there we are. That's what they'll be talking about. Now, I decided with the brass dragon, because they are lore-wise the weakest of the true dragon. They're even weaker than white dragons. Could you believe? So I decided, like a Skyrim dragon, I'm going to give them some power in their voice. Right, I'm going to give them some spells like command and suggestion and magic mouth and anything that gives them an excuse to talk while they're fighting you. Because realistically, you shouldn't be fighting a brass dragon at all. They're not an evil dragon. And even if you're an evil adventuring group, you've been sent by the evil blue dragon to come and kill the brass dragon, and you catch it out in the open, it will put you to sleep and fuck off back to its lair. And let's say that you chase it down to its lair and you manage to get into the... I mean, it's quite easy to get into the lairs. They're supposed to be open and welcome to all. Like, oh, everyone come into my lair so you can have a chat for 10 hours. Well, what I decided a brass dragon would have is what I like to call the quarantine chamber. He'll lure you into this one little room out to the side, away from his art gallery and conversation hall with expensive ornaments and talking statues, and into another room full of talking statues. And the doors are going to close on you as you enter, and everything's password locked because, again, the brass dragon needs to talk at every opportunity. So the longest word the brass dragon knows in its 150 languages, that's the password to all of its things. So bring a wizard along, and that's going to be the password to get out to. And in that room, I decided there'll be about 400 statues with a magic mouth cast on them, and they're all just going to start talking about random shit all at once, like being in a Discord call with 500 people, none of which have their mics muted. Right? As this is happening, the brass dragon flies off. They're the fastest of all dragons. Do you know that? 120 feet, I buffed its speed. Off they go, and they're going to start using their message spells and sending spells to contact everything in the desert. And the messages it will send to the sphinxes and the animals and the adventurers and the organizations, everything except the blue dragons and undead, it doesn't like those, will be overly long, and it'll probably require 3 message spells just for him to ask for help. But once he does that, he'll then return with an army that can do the deed for him and just take out whatever foolish adventurers decide to fight a brass dragon.
So you sat down while you were here, over the weekend. You just sort of came up with all this, like smashing all the D&D lore together to create what you thought a brass dragon should be in 5e.
Yeah.
And it's some cool stuff. I mean, you've got your sleep breath. You don't have fire breath anymore.
Oh yeah, so 5e. I don't. Maybe it was 4e. Maybe it was 5e. I don't know. They gave them fire breath, which I know Kyle likes fire breathing dragons, but brass dragons in older lore, if I remember, don't have a fire breath. They have hot gas, which I think is it's cooler in a way. So I changed it to steam breath rather than. It does the exact same thing. It's just reflavored. I also gave it some better. Oh, so what was that, Dungeon Upper?
Oh, I was gonna. It was actually cerulean. If you go back far enough, they have a sleep gas, and they have a fear gas.
Yes, so I did actually add those in here. So the sleep breath, that's in 5e anyway. They still got that. Okay. But the fear gas I added as a layer action. So I've got 3 in there. One of them is a fear gas. Oh no, never mind. I added it into its frightful presence, because frightful presence is one of those things that 5e has that it makes no sense. So I was like, well, I'm gonna reflavor this to be fear gas, which it releases like Scarecrow, the Batman villain. But in its layer actions, you've got hallucinatory gas. You start seeing shit and going crazy. You've got animate statues, because the brass dragon needs things to talk to, and the statues come alive. And I can't even remember what the other one was, to be honest. I can't read on there. Your stream quality is too low. Let me bring up my own tweet. Exhausting energy, that was it. Where as the fight progresses, all the lingering energy from those bored victims of the brass dragon, it's like negative energy. People believe in ghosts. Oh, there's a negative vibe in this. Well, this one it's an exhausting vibe, and you gain exhaustion if you fail your saving throw.
Punishing. I mean, I do like how you thought Delver was speaking when that was just the echo. It's because Cerulean's beard is too magnificent. At this size on the screen, you can't see his lips move. I'm hoping that fixes it. Maybe not. Look, yes, good. Very, very imaginative, and probably the person that's put the most amount of effort into it. I've said to like and share the screen because we do have 49 people watching over all platforms, which is great. Jack McCarthy says he liked it and shared it with his dog. He seems unimpressed. Your dog is obviously uncultured. I mean, to be honest, no. What do you guys think to the Brass Dragon stat block, or the ideas behind it for those of you that don't play 5e?
It sounds horrifying.
Go on.
No, I would hate to be stuck in a room with that thing. Like, that'd be the last dragon I'd go after if it was literally going to talk me to death. That's like the. I'd rather get eaten.
Has anyone ever worked with old people? Like, if you work?
You have. I'm right here.
Yeah, you're working with old people right now.
I used to do a program called Silver Surfers, which was we would teach elderly people how to use computers with my grandmother. Yeah. And they would stop learning how to use a computer about 15 minutes in, and they would just regale you with useless stuff. And they would just be talking and talking and talking while you're trying to teach them how to do Control-Alt-Delete. It's very much gives me that kind of vibe. Like, oh, I came here to steal some treasure, and now I'm having a conversation that's going to last 10 hours and the rest.
Mm-hmm. About the most mundane thing the brass dragon can think of, dude.
What's mundane to a dragon?
I've had brass and bronze dragons. I was just going to say, I've had brass and bronze dragons show up in AD&D games, and they basically wanted to keep people as pets.
That is terrifying.
Completely, I mean, as from their perspective, people would be as safe with them as my dog Zeus is with me. Absolutely no malice in them whatsoever. It's just, well, you're mine now.
Have you ever read the Bitterwood series?
Nope.
One of the main characters, partway through book 1, is actually the pet of a dragon. because the whole idea is dragons have taken over the world, and this human is just a kept human. He is the dragon's pet, and he's very well taken care of, despite the fact that he has no real freedom or anything like that. Teddy's here saying that I strap the elderly to surfboards.
Another thing to note about brass dragons, actually, I forgot to mention, but they can also speak to animals, so even animals are not safe. If a rat enters its lair, that rat will be bored to tears within 2 hours and bored to death within 6.
That's insidious.
That's terrible.
So we have turned one of the good dragons into something terrifying.
They are chaotic, I do, so, you know.
I want to address your question, actually, Jack. What we would like to say about what the brass dragon has put together here. There's a couple of points that I think are really clever. One of those being the gas that causes hallucinations. I think that's very appropriate because they do live in the desert, and that is an area, of course, obviously, for obvious reasons, gets associated with hallucination. They actually played on that in first edition D&D Blue Dragons, because blue and brass share, of course, the same desert environments that they prefer. The other thing, too, that I find clever and smart about what you've done, using the fact that they like to talk as much as they do, and using the spells, etc. Maybe not even so much the spells, but just their ability to talk. Blue dragons actually hate them with passion, and they will not rest until a brass is either dead or driven away.
This is a very good time for you just to go straight into your dragon, then, sir.
I suppose it would be.
Segue.
And so, blue dragons are physically and probably, of course, the malevolence is quite different, in personality, but they're a lightning bolt compared to, gas that doesn't really harm one, but puts you out of commission. There's a different tone and timbre to that. Fire breath, acquired later aside, it's just a stream of. But all that being said, and I will be happy to talk more about the blue, but the idea that the brass dragon uses the way that it talks is smart, because it's a head-to-head confrontation. A blue dragon is probably going to take a brass dragon down. That's why brass dragon is going to leave. However, if it does have to fight, it would be smart to talk shit to the opponent to get them off their game. If I were a brass dragon, that is a weapon I would use.
Oh yeah, and with the superior speed that brass dragons have too.
Yeah.
The Conor McGregor approach. I got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just be an annoying little shit and just dodge it.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic.
Stay still so I can hit you.
Yeah. I think most and them being faster in flight, I think would be extremely annoying to the blues.